It's like easier and easier to bootstrap a neobank, and it's cheaper and cheaper, right? And so I do think we'll continue to see more and more neobanks popping up.
All views expressed by the hosts and guests in this podcast are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of their respective employers. Guests and hosts may maintain positions in the assets discussed in this podcast. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing in the podcast is intended to be financial, legal, or even live advice.
All right. Hello, GM, everybody. We like to typically wait for a couple seconds, 30 to 60 seconds, wait for people to come in and so on. You know how things are with live. But today, some of you might have seen the tweets that we put out a couple days ago that we're going to go live and we're going to talk with Thomas here from Paymentscan. I will sort of pause there, but just to give the context for the listeners, I think it's not a surprise anymore that neobanks, sort of crypto payments, have been one of the hot topic in the past 6 to 9 months. The charts are pretty much just going up and to the right, just like how we wish Bitcoin is, but it's not, unfortunately. So I'll sort of pass it to Lambro to maybe ask the opening questions about Thomas, his background, and Paymentscan.
Yeah, Thomas, would you mind doing a quick intro what Paymentscan is? And then maybe we can dabble around how you got into the space, why you're focusing in this sector afterwards.
Yeah, sounds great. All right, thank you, Marco Lambro. Pleasure to be here. So to answer your question about Paymentscan is the leading source of analytics for stablecoin card payments. So we basically track on-chain neobanks like KAST, EtherFi, RedotPay, a bunch more, most of the ones that people have heard of and used. And we're looking to see basically how fast is this being adopted. Neobanks, how fast are they being adopted, and kind of who's leading the race. And then happy to give a bit of backstory on myself as well.
Yeah, that's great. When did you start doing this, by the way? I know this got really hot this year, and just want to see was it back then that got you into it, or have you always been in this sector, just kind of dive into it as it got hotter?
Yeah, so my co-founder has been doing data in the crypto space for multiple years now. But it was about 6 months ago, sometime in December, that we kind of realized that this niche is growing super fast. This neobanking stablecoin card niche is growing super fast. And actually, if you pull up the Paymentscan charts, you'll see we kind of started it at the perfect time. The growth is really starting to explode right now. But yeah, previous to that, I've been in crypto for, I want to say, 5 years now. Never too focused on the payment side, but I think, these last 6 to 12 months, we've really seen, the payment side of things take off. Huge, big infrastructure plays like Bridge getting acquired. And so I think that's really, a sign that on-chain settlement is, and stablecoin settlement is here to stay, and it's here to revolutionize the way we do finance.
Okay. Before we deep dive into it, maybe Marco, you can keep the site on, and then Thomas, you can talk through some of the key metrics, or why do people care?
Sure.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in my stream that be they only care about market cap, FDV, trading volume, all that. And if they're new to this fundamental things, how you talk them to about what was TVL, what's transaction volume, settle volume, those kind of stuff.
Yeah. Great question. So I think if you think of a token you'd want to invest in, the question everybody's always asking is what's the market cap? And when we look at the adoption of crypto cards, the metric that we always look at is volume, monthly volume. So that's what you see here on the homepage. You can see the monthly volumes that people are putting through these payment cards for all the top projects. You can expand it out and see the smaller projects as well. And so volume, we think, is really the crucial metric that tells the most out of any. But if you click on volume on the chart, you'll see you can also track the number of transactions associated with the card. You can track the number of addresses. You guys have been in crypto for a while, so a user can have multiple addresses, and it's not always nice, a clean one-to-one of real user activity. So you see the list changes a bunch when you cycle through these. But we do think volume is the most interesting one and the best one to compare there. And so this is what you're seeing here on the homepage is kind of a list of the user-facing products that you would have heard of in the neobanking space, like RedotPay, EtherFi, KAST, Plasma One, so on and so forth. But behind the scenes, there are actually a bunch of different infrastructure players called card issuers. So that's the second page on the site. And you've probably heard about Rain, this huge card issuance team that's just been having explosive growth over the last couple of years. Back in 2023, I believe when they started out, they were doing corporate cards for DAOs, which tells you kind of how far they've come. And then there's some other great teams there: Wirex, Immersive, Kulipa, and Bridge. So these are the teams that are powering the actual card issuance behind the scenes. So Rain, for instance, issues cards for EtherFi, they issue cards for KAST, and so on and so forth. And then you've got some other views on the sidebar as well for other slices. Go ahead, sorry.
Nice. Oh, I used to use Wirex like back then, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Really?
And they used to have a token as well. I remember. I forgot. They have a green card, so I can use it to off ramp quite easily. I was just like thinking like, what if people block my stuff? So I had it, but I never properly use it. I'm a heavy user of crypto cards, by the way. I just never studied it as deep as Marco previously.
Awesome.
It's interesting
Wirex has been around.
Like the number of transactions, like they're like winning still, but like we all know, like Rain is sort of like the market leader for that. But yeah, it's interesting to see. Cool. Sorry, Lambro, just like before you go on, like one fun question for you, Thomas. Do you remember like when did you ever for the first time use crypto for payments? I'm actually like trying to remember. Like that's a question for you also, Lambro. Yeah. When did you ever actually use it for payments and not for trading?
I would actually say I used crypto for payments long before I used it for trading. So I got into crypto kind of seriously 4 or 5 years ago. But sometimes I pull open my email and I go back like 8 or 9 years. And I was doing various bits of freelance work on the internet, and the easiest way for people to pay me was like, send me a little bit of Bitcoin to this address. It was either PayPal or Bitcoin. So for me, payments was kind of the OG use case for crypto. And then I became a bit of a trader, a bit of a speculator. And now I feel like, the market's settling down again and we're coming back to, payments and real utility again.
Did you have your own version of like Pizzagate?
I'm not even familiar with what's Pizzagate.
Oh no, the one where they bought 2 pizzas with like 10,000 Bitcoin as a means of payment. So like I was wondering if you've gotten paid for like your freelance work, and now you're like, shoot, that's like 5 houses.
Actually, I think I did. So I've been living in Poland for like over 10 years now, and actually the leading delivery app, like the leading Uber Eats app in Poland, used to have Bitcoin as an option, like way before anybody else, way before crypto was even adopted in Poland. But I think at the time Bitcoin was maybe worth a couple of $1,000s. So yeah, I did have my own Pizzagate, but wasn't anywhere near as painful as the OG one.
Got it.
For me, I've always been for a speculator, and then somehow started paying people to do random stuff online with stablecoins. That's about it. Like I'm not gonna pretend, but I use a lot of crypto cards because I started using EtherFi card a lot more because of the incentives. I'm a heavy yield farmer, and I realized there's money to be used there. They used to do 1% referral of people spending. Like I still get like those 1% referral from people using my referral code. It's actually pretty crazy.
Yeah, EtherFi has amazing incentives.
Cashback too.
You can see, you can see on the cashback page. KAST has had some really amazing incentives as well, but their data for incentives isn't on chain. But they had a campaign going a couple of weeks ago for the World Cup, where if you bet on a team in one of the football matches and that team won, they would like quadruple or 8x your cash back. So people were getting like 16% cash back on some of their transactions for like a day or two after World Cup matches, which is just absolutely insane.
Nice. And I guess you can also look at the data on per company. Yeah, no. Sorry, go ahead.
Per company, per chain, per issuer. We've got all the slices we could gain or that we could find. We've tried to put them up here.
Okay, in terms of let's say I don't even know how to put this, but neobank or because every crypto card call themselves a neobank now, right? So how does the stack actually work, right? Like it should be card issuers. That there's like actual bank or centralized custodian, or there's a wallet intermediate, and there's like Visa, Master. Like how does the whole stack actually work?
Yeah, great question. So for a lot of people, neobank just means stablecoin card. Some people also have like banking accounts and payout features, but like the basic offering every neobank has is some kind of card, right? And the way it works is usually teams pick one of those big card issuers that you saw on the issuers page. They pick from Rain or Wirex. There's a couple of like custodial card issuers, which are not here on the site because we have no way to track them, like Reap and StraightSex. So users or builders pick from one of those. And what those teams go and do is they have their relationships with Visa and Mastercard, and they can actually issue the cards themselves. And then they make it easy for the what's called a card program for the neobank to actually issue those cards to users, and then they process all the transactions behind the scenes for users. So kind of the basic building block for a neobank is this card issuance layer, which is your Rain or your Wirex. And then on top of that, some people do clever things with like wallets and account abstraction to make it easier for their users. So they pick a different kind of vendor or a different technology or piece of infrastructure there, which goes kind of on top of the card issuance layer. And then I think the sort of third thing that a lot of neobanks have now is like some kind of banking account, virtual account. And so that's a whole set of like different vendors, different infrastructure providers, like Bridge or like Iron. And what they do is they act like a bank as well. So the neobank themselves doesn't need to have a relationship with Visa or Mastercard. They don't need to have a relationship with banks. They need to have a relationship at least with the card issuer, and then if they want like banking rails as well, with one of these banking providers like Bridge, who goes and has all the relationships in the TradFi world.
Understood. So okay, first question: which is the top 3 cards you use right now because of whatever reason? And secondly, where do you see this space go? Is it going to be a pure service-like sector, or is it going to be a speculator some part?
Sure. Okay. So for your first question, I don't know about 3, but my 2 favorite cards right now are Plasma One and EtherFi. Plasma One is fresh on the scene, super great user experience. Just a big fan of the app and a big fan of everything about Plasma One. To me, it feels like an Apple product. It's just hard not to use it.
Very simple.
It's just so sleek. Yeah, very simple, very sleek. And then EtherFi obviously has. EtherFi's been around for longer. It has, slightly better banking rails, and it has this amazing cashback. So for me, it's always one of those 2. And what was the second question?
Where do you see this space going? Is it going to act like a tool, or is it going to be a more speculative side of things? Because most of them haven't issued a token yet, and RedotPay raised a big round recently.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of these teams you see here have like raised huge rounds. Most of them don't have a token. A couple of them do. Looking at the list you've got in front of you, EtherFi has a token. Tria has a token.
Tria has a token.
Wirex, has or had a token. So there is already some speculation going on. But then what's interesting is like there's a couple of big teams. Obviously, Plasma has a token as well. RedotPay and KAST are absolutely huge, and they don't have a token. I don't know if RedotPay is planning anything there, but I know KAST was planning a token, and now they're talking about giving users maybe some equity, which is super interesting.
I saw that email too.
Yeah. So I think it's super interesting. A lot of crypto, a couple of years ago was kind of like speculation first, product second. And what we're seeing right now in like the neobanking space is there's a few older names that already had a token, but then like some of the clear leaders here, RedotPay and KAST, they don't have a token, and it's a product first thing, and maybe they'll add that speculative aspect to it in the future. But it's really up to those teams, I guess.
Quick follow up. I wonder if you have any data on the geography of like user base. Like I think that's very like valuable, but it's like I know it's very hard to track. And the reason I'm saying, just to give a bit of context, because like I do feel sometimes like Americans or even Singaporeans would say, hey, like I don't really know a lot of people that use the crypto cards because they are both financial hubs, right? Like their banking systems are like very good, and that's not necessarily the same with a lot of like other countries. So I'm wondering if you've had any callers or just like conversations around like the user base like breakdown.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean that's hard to track on chain, because on chain you just see an address, you don't know where the user's from, but you can kind of get some hints based on when they transact during the day. And so if you look at when EtherFi users transact versus when like RedotPay users transact, RedotPay is heavily weighted towards like Asia hours. And then EtherFi is like a lot of Europe hours and America's hours. And that actually lines up a lot with kind of, if you look on Twitter and you talk to people about these cards and you look at their, decks, or you look at their website, anywhere where they're kind of promoting themselves, you'll kind of see that RedotPay really is a leader in kind of Asia, I believe it's super popular in Africa as well, to an extent, South America, but more than anything, kind of Asia and Africa. KAST also has a huge Asia presence, but they're really just winning globally. And then EtherFi is more, I would say, kind of the Western world. Same goes for Plasma One to an extent. And so I think you do see some regional differences here. And I think RedotPay RedotPay surprises a lot of people who are in crypto. I don't know if you guys are particularly familiar with them, but everybody's like, oh, I don't know anybody who uses RedotPay. Like, how are they doing these huge volume numbers? And it's from what I know, it's because they're super popular in Asia and Africa, and loads of people are using them to kind of remit money and just generally move money around where they don't have alternatives.
Got it.
We're
gonna ask something, Lambro.
Yeah. RedotPay was around for a long time, but like it's expensive. It's like everything is expensive. There's no cashback. I don't know why people use it. I don't know. Is it like some sort of like funny business for fundraising purpose, or is it actually like some good thing about it? Like, so like for me, I feel like all payment is round down to incentives. But I'm like, so maybe I'm taking the crypto mindset a little bit too much into it. So I don't know. Like,
no, that's an amazing point. It's a really good point. I'll just add there, which is like, the job of a business is to make money. And so giving out incentives is not very good for your business. And so that's the really amazing thing about RedotPay, which is that they have this huge business. They have loads of volume. They have, loads of different payment corridors. They have the card, and users are all paying to use this, which is like this amazing sign of product market fit. And I think that's because they've just been around for the longest, and they've just been building this stuff before anybody else has. Whereas, you've got slightly newer projects on the scene that are super big too, like KAST and EtherFi, that I think, they still probably generate revenue once you even it all out. I think KAST is very much in growth mode, but I think EtherFi Cash is definitely profitable. But they're still paying out all these incentives, right? And so it's kind of like, it's masterclass by RedotPay, where it's like, you're charging users for everything, and you're still doing super well. So you're clearly doing something very well.
This is a very good segue for my next question. Like, if I'm an investor listening to this and maybe they want to get your take on the neobank landscape, they're thinking, oh, like I don't have a bag and so on. I guess, what's your view on, like now there are like more than 20 crypto payment cards competing with each other and so on. Like, what's your view on like how will all of this play out in the next 12 to like 18 months? Like, do you sort of like see like a consolidation because they can't give 6% cashback anymore? And then sort of like you can argue that the infra cost is going down with like Mastercard like trying to push for market share also. So seems like it becomes easier and easier to bootstrap a neobank. So it's starting to wonder like, how do you foresee that future play out?
Yeah, you're 100% correct that it's like easier and easier to bootstrap a neobank, and it's cheaper and cheaper, right? And so I do think we'll continue to see more and more neobanks popping up, and like kind of niche specific, audience specific neobanks, because it's just so easy to connect the building blocks now, and it's cheaper than it's ever been. You don't need to worry about who's providing your bank accounts or your relationship with Visa or Mastercard. You just pick from a couple of different vendors, and if you're not happy with one, you can kind of just you can switch it out. And so I think we'll continue to see a lot of neobanks pop up, but I do think from a user perspective, it's kind of just crypto all over again, right? Where it's like the top protocols, the top products will probably get the most users, build the network effect. Maybe they'll start to go around some of these infrastructure partners who take a fee and build some of these relationships, directly with banking partners or with Visa and Mastercard, which will, drop costs even more. And so maybe RedotPay, KAST, EtherFi, Plasma One continue to become, more and more competitive. And so I guess you see a lot of value getting concentrated in these top players as they get bigger and bigger. But I don't think that means that everybody else dies out. I think they kind of continue to exist, and it becomes quite a vicious fight for market share.
Jumping here a bit, like I just read somewhere that Kulipa just shut down, like the service provider for Ready Card.
Kulipa, bro. Like, it was so bad for you to pronounce stuff.
my Asian ass cannot do this shit. But yeah. Wait, so when that closed down, does that affect like the whole stack? I'm guessing because like Ready and Solflare got affected, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Kulipa cards basically stopped working overnight. And so Ready and Solflare were like the two most, we do have a Kulipa page on the website as well. You can pull it up under issuers. Ready and Solflare were kind of the leading card programs for Kulipa. And yeah, basically overnight, those card programs stopped working, and Ready and Solflare had to kind of send their users emails saying, sorry, sorry if your card got declined at checkout, but Kulipa cards aren't working. And so yeah, that's a risk, and that's scary. But I've spoken or kind of chatted with both the Ready and the Solflare teams, and I think they've already got other issuers that they're planning to issue with, and the timeline is it's a couple of months, maybe even weeks, and not years, which I think goes to show kind of like how modular a lot of this architecture is. It's not banking licenses and stuff that you need to wait forever for. You can pick and switch pretty quick.
And technically, your money is never in the issuer, right? It's always like it's more like there's money in the vault, on-chain vault of some sort. There's some intermediate that holds the money in some bank, and then they transfer it to the bank, the card issuer to pay off the bill time to time of some sort. So there's technically no risk unless like the underlying, let's say, ready card broke of some sort.
Yeah. So I would call that like kind of the self-custodial model for stablecoin cards, and most of what you see on Paymentscan is the self-custodial model. So users kind of have their own wallet that they keep funds in, and then for example, EtherFi, users have their own EtherFi wallet, and if Rain, which is their major issuer, if the cards stop working overnight, users have all their money in their own smart contract wallet. There are a couple of exceptions on Paymentscan. RedotPay and KAST are a bit more kind of custodial. They take users' money, they put it in one big wallet, and that's makes it harder for us to track because we can't see every time a user pays or something. Then we need to start looking at, okay, now RedotPay is sending, or KAST is sending a big chunk of money to Rain, so we know that much has been spent, but we don't know how many users spent that much or how long they spent that much. Kind of this batch settlement approach. So yeah, I guess looping back to your question, for a lot of the cards you see here, yeah, it's self-custodial. So even if something happens with the issuer, users still kind of have access to their funds.
Dude, like Lambro, like we can really nerd out on this. So just for context, like Thomas, I'm actually working on like something that's like kind of similar without disclosing too much right now. It's like the nuances around sort of like the buffer pool, right? The sort of like the MOR model in which like if you want to give yield, but at the same time that yield can be spent and so on. There's like different providers. To me, have like so many different nuances. I think that's what's interesting about the industry. Sort of is also like everything is very case by case and sort of like deal by deal because it's very like B2B with a lot of these in terms of like what you cannot do. The buffer pool, like how much do you need to have for that? The custom settlement. We all saw the EtherFi from Scroll to like Optimism. Whether you're issuing out of like Puerto Rico bin or like Singapore bin for like Visa, like even that has like its own nuances. So it's like we could really go nerd out, but I think this is a very fun space. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's so much complexity to it, and we're just kind of scratching the surface, and it's so hard to communicate all of this on Paymentscan because it's like so many different layers to it, but we try our best.
Lambro, what's the biggest purchase you have bought with the crypto card?
A lot, bro, to be very honest with you. Like I was rinsing that 3% for a while. Like, I was buying bags, I was buying like watches and all that shit. Like I wanted to test out the limit. And then 3% was good. Cause like there's a friction off ramping, right? Like cost wise.
Yes.
So you might as well do that plus incentive. And then for some reason in my mind I thought there was gonna be some airdrop. So I was rinsing like EtherFi for a while.
That's your airdrop. Okay.
But yeah. All right. Actually, before do you have any prediction in this sector before I ask you one more question?
Yep.
Predictions in this. Okay. I think the obvious prediction is up and to the right. I think these volumes I think they'll more than double, more than triple maybe over the next like 12 months. I really feel like we're seeing a hockey stick moment. That's kind of one prediction. The second one is I feel like until now, a lot of stablecoin card users have been crypto native users. Having been in crypto for over 5 years, like 5 years ago, a lot of the utility of a crypto card was just like I want to be able to spend my money without people asking me questions, without my bank closing my bank account, and so it was very much like focused on a crypto audience. And I think that's my second prediction, which is that changes. I think we're going to start seeing more and more fintech products and card products that are oriented towards like a wider audience, but using stablecoins under the hood. So not even focused on a crypto audience anymore, but just quietly using stablecoins under the hood. There's one on the website right now, Carta, which nobody has heard of in crypto. But there's this huge card. I think it's they advertise themselves as like a global US dollar account for high net worth spenders. And they're just doing all of these volumes through stablecoins, and you wouldn't know if you use the app. So I think that's super interesting. That's my second prediction. Third prediction,
it's more specialized offerings, I guess.
Yeah, more specialized offerings, and kind of less crypto native offerings. And I guess my third prediction is just, I think we'll start to see, because you guys mentioned, like the speculation side of things, I think we'll start to see some more kind of interesting stuff happen there. I think in the private markets, we'll start to see, even bigger and bigger fundraisers for the big headline names here and for the headline issuers. And then hopefully, some tokens or some, publicly distributed equity. I think that's going to be kind of really interesting to see as well.
Interesting. Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would love to know both of your experiences with stablecoin cards, because everybody's got like a slightly different story. I mean, Lambro, you touched a bit on it, but Marco, are you a stablecoin card user as well? Would love to know kind of which cards you guys have tried and which you've liked the most.
Yeah, maybe like I can yap a bit on this. I mean, yes, I'm a user myself. I think to me the most interesting differentiator is the virtual accounts for me, right? Because like when I tried, I pretty much tried like everything: KAST, RedotPay, Plasma, EtherFi, and so on, and all the top names. And okay, like I kind of get the differences in terms of the UI UX. Like EtherFi is pretty interesting because you can borrow and sort of like figure out like what does that mean and so on. But the virtual account is really, I think that's a big difference, especially like I think we're gonna see maybe some of these neobanks are gonna embrace like B2B cards also. I mean, there's some, they're more of like adjacent companies. They're not necessarily neobanks, or I guess you can call them, but it's like the Flex, the Slash, and so on. Like those are also interesting to watch, or like even like Infini and a couple others. So like I'm not sure like how those two would like emerge, but for me, that like having access to like USD account in the fiat way. I know I'm such a boomer, but like that's a nice touch. Yeah.
100%. Anything you want to add,
Lambro? No. For me, it's just like wherever has the best. Like I started using normal credit cards now because I realized the cashback is a lot higher. And sometimes I use like centralized exchange cards, because like they with the added perks, it's kind of good. Like, but I come from a city where like I don't have limit in spending and stuff, right? Like it's not like actually I do. I need to use crypto cards to because I live in Hong Kong basically, so I need to use crypto cards to pay for AI subscriptions, because I'm not supposed to have AI. That's the annoying.
He's just exposing himself here.
It's okay. What are you gonna do? Like jail me, bro? but yeah. Okay. So I started using it for fun, right? And I thought it's one of those things that might be like the real side of crypto, and hopefully there's some good companies that come out of it that we don't. It's not just like air or puffy bullshit that would just boom and gone.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of your takes. Definitely agree with you, Marco, on kind of this whole suite of like financial products that you could build out with crypto. We're just kind of scratching the surface now. And I think, as a crypto user, it's really nice to see like a crypto native product that has bank accounts or something, just someone that understands the space, that understands like, the source of my money and so on and so forth. So I think that's super interesting. We've actually got, kind of this research piece, Paymentscan research piece on like banking rails and virtual accounts coming out within the next week or two. So I'll share that with you guys. Some super interesting findings there on kind of, on the infrastructure partners and the fees behind it. And then, I mean, I totally see what you're saying as well, Lambro, with kind of just wanting the best deal out there. And I think that's going to be super interesting as well. I think that touches on my point earlier of like, until now, stablecoin cards have been very like crypto focused, but can they break out? And can they just be like the best option for a debit or credit card, like full stop? And I think that would be like, this huge moment where we start seeing like a load of adoption.
Nice. What's the goal
Got
of
it.
like Paymentscan, by the way, in the end? Like
Yeah,
is
great
it does it
question.
start like a hobby or?
Great question. Yeah. So when we started out, we were just like, nobody's doing data for this stuff. Like, I saw someone recommending KAST in one of my group chats, and I was like, oh, who are these guys? Do I want to, put money with them? Like, do I trust them? Because I hadn't heard of them. Like, I hadn't really been digging into this stuff. And then I dug in and we started Paymentscan and I started finding all these KAST flows and I realized, wow, this is a huge business. Like, I can put 10K in KAST and I don't need to worry about it. Like, they've clearly got, much bigger flows. And so, the goal starting out was kind of like, let's get some transparency for the space, right? Let's see how big these card programs are, how big these issuers are, who's using who. And start to understand that. And I think over the last couple of months, we've realized like there is actually kind of a much greater vision here, which is like anybody can start a stablecoin card program now. In the future, with all these banking rails, anybody will be able to make their own, bank, their own neobank. And so I think in a world where someone can launch a stablecoin card and a neobank in a couple of weeks for $50,000 or less, how do you know who to trust? Like, how do you know where you can put your money, where it's going to be safe? Like, there isn't,
Yep.
Separate regulators and compliance on top of the card programs. It's all at like the infrastructure provider level. So it's like, it's kind of scary, right? Anybody could sign up to, Bridge and sign up to Rain, put the two things together, but then, you don't know if they give you a deposit address, whether they're just, spending that money at the casino, right? And so we want to look on chain. We want to create as much transparency as possible. We want to show people that these systems are healthy, that money is coming in, money is going out, that kind of they're over collateralized. And I think that's the true vision there, which is kind of like establishing a level of transparency for a space that isn't, super regulated so that, people can invest and use the right projects.
Cool. Nice.
I think that's very well said. Yeah.
Okay, so last question we ask everyone that comes on the pod. What do you think is required to make it in crypto?
Super difficult question. I think, obviously, if we're talking about the more speculative side of crypto, and I sense that we are, I think it's a cutthroat space, right? You can get rug pulled, you can get hacked, you can invest in something that seems legit and it just completely dies. And so I think you need to be careful, right? You need to take risk and kind of explore this kind of new technology, but you can't take everything at face value. You can't trust everyone. You can't trust everything you see. So I think that's a big one. And then I think another one is just like persistence, right? We see it time and time again. This is a space where money flows in and then money flows out. And I think the people who really win in crypto are the people who kind of stick around. They're building during kind of the bear market, they're building something which later gets adopted, or they're kind of, if they're just a pure speculator or trader, they're kind of just there watching things. And then that gives you like much better like capital preservation skills for when the bull market comes around. And so I think that's my personal 2 cents.
Love it, man. Very well said. Okay. I mean, do you have anything that you want to like shout out? I guess like you have the reports coming out in like 2 weeks, but like otherwise, what's your X? Where should they find you and so on?
Yeah. So please check us out at Paymentscan on Twitter, paymentscan.xyz. I think my biggest kind of request would be if anybody's building in, the stablecoin payment space, anybody's building in the neobanking space, like reach out to us. We want to get you up on Paymentscan. We want to build out new data sets and we just want to advance like the level of transparency in the space. So I think that's the most I could ask for.
Sounds good. Cool, man. All right. That is it that we have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that session. I think we'll ask you to like maybe like come back in like a couple months or so, like when I think this space is going to like move very, very fast. So like, we'll see how it goes. But that is it for today. And until next time, cheers.
Thank you guys for your time. Thanks a bunch.